My name is HAILY and I've had the pleasure of serving at Hospice Caring for the past 2 years. Hospice Caring provides caring, compassionate, non-medical support services without charge to Montgomery County residents facing a life-threatening illness or grieving the death of a loved one. I specifically have worked in the Children's Bereavement Department alongside the best supervisor a gal can ask for, Jilly Cannon. In the fall of 2016, I signed up for my first year of AmeriCorps. I originally applied for a different position, but Paul asked if I would be interested in applying to hospice caring. I was hesitant, but upon walking into the interview at the hospice caring cottage and speaking with Jilly Cannon and the executive director, Allison Stearns, I knew this was where I wanted to be. I intended to serve just 1 year and move on to graduate school. After facilitating my first Good Grief Club, which is a support group for grieving children, I decided I had to sign up for a second year. I let Paul and Jilly know of my decision and jumped further in. I soon was also a facilitator for our Family Nights program and was taking on more and more responsibilities. Then, as my first year was beginning to come to an end, I found out my grandma, Nan, was given less than 6 months to live and was soon after placed in a hospice. I had an internal freak out about my decision to stay in Maryland working at hospice caring and not going home to Connecticut. The thought of facilitating support groups for grieving children while preparing myself for the death of Nan and the inevitable actually grieving her death while running the groups was terrifying. After some back and forth, I decided to stick it out for the second year. I traveled home whenever I could and got some precious time in with Nan before she died in October. I experienced significant losses before, but this was by far the hardest one. From past experience and from working in a hospice, I had an idea of what I was in for, and I was in the surreal position where I now had to take my own advice that I had been giving to the kids I was working with. It certainly wasn't easy, and in ways it made it harder knowing what I was in for, but I soon realized that staying for the second year, despite how hard it was the best decision I made in a long time. The staff and volunteers at Hospice Caring, especially my supervisor Jilly, were all so supportive every step of the way, up to and following Nan's death. With time, I was able to dip my feet back in by starting first by facilitating a family night, and then working up the courage to start back up on my Good Grief Club. I started to realize I was learning so much more from the kids I was working with. I was essentially broken down and rebuilding myself. I had a new perspective. The students I had the opportunity to work with were so insightful and full of strength, even if they couldn't see it themselves. Each and every student I worked with had something to teach me. We formed a team. I was helping them, but I don't think they realized how much they were helping me. If I hadn't signed on for that second year, I know for a fact I wouldn't be doing as well as I am today. Now that I'm wrapping up my second year, I am preparing to pursue an MSW in Connecticut with the intention of volunteering at one of the local hospices. I hope to continue my work with grieving children and want to end my speech by thanking everyone again who was with me on this part of my journey. Many thanks to Jilly, the hospice caring staff and volunteers, Paul, my fellow AmeriCorps members, and everyone else who stuck by me.